Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to discuss how to speed past waiting in lines at the airport. The more you travel, the more you realize how much you're waiting in line at the airport. Whether you're waiting in line to get onto the airplane, waiting in line to get into an airport lounge, or just waiting in line to get through airport security. If you were like me, you hate waiting in these different lines and look for solutions to help speed it up. And fortunately, in the credit card and points and miles world, there are different tricks out there to help you be able to get yourself either priority boarding for planes or be able to get yourself easier access into the airport lounges. There are many different ways to help make your waiting experience become smoother, and that's what I'm going to go over in this video. So first, let's go over when you enter the airport. I am someone who never checks bags anymore. If you are someone who travels with children or if you travel with work equipment, I can understand why you would have the need to check bags. But if you are not in that situation, ask yourself the question, do you really need all that extra stuff to take your trip? When I first started flying, I used to always check my bags. And then at some point, I started realizing that I was taking way more stuff than I actually needed. The real trick to fit everything into your carry-on is to bring less shoes and to wear your jacket. Now when I travel, I either travel with my carry-on, and in many instances, I'm only just traveling with my backpack. Being team carry-on can help you save yourself a lot of time at the airport because now you don't need to wait in line to be able to get yourself a bag tag. And depending on how busy the airport is, this can end up saving you maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And then when you get to your destination, you don't need to go down to the carousel, wait another 20 or 30 minutes for your luggage to arrive. While you're waiting for your luggage to arrive, I'm already in the taxi half the way to the hotel. Again, if you have young children or you're traveling with work equipment, then I understand why you'd want to check bags. But if you don't happen to be in that scenario, really ask yourself the question, could you take this trip if you didn't check a bag? Because this can help you save many hours throughout the year of waiting around for your checked luggage. Next, we're going to look at getting yourself through airport security. Now, if you happen to have any luxury travel credit card, chances are they probably offer for you to get yourself a free either global entry or TSA PreCheck membership. What you're going to want to do is sign up for global entry because if you end up getting yourself global entry, you automatically get yourself TSA PreCheck. TSA PreCheck, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is the fast lane at the airport. I would say that global entry and TSA PreCheck are worth every penny that they cost because even if a credit card didn't offer it to me for free, I would still go and pay for it because it saves me so much time waiting at the airport. Now, when you sign up for global entry and TSA PreCheck, it isn't just an immediate process. You do have to set up an interview that is very easy, and then eventually they'll send you a card with the information that you're not going to need to bring around with you every time you travel. All you need to do is just take down that information when it comes to your traveler ID, and then when you end up booking a flight in the US, it's going to ask for your traveler ID. You put that information in there, and then when you go to the airport to print out your boarding pass, you'll end up seeing it's going to say TSA PreCheck on your boarding pass. Or if you're like myself, who barely ever gets themselves paper boarding passes, then in the app that you end up having your boarding pass on, it should say TSA PreCheck on there as well. And not only are the lines shorter when it comes to TSA PreCheck, but everything just goes smoother. You don't need to take off your shoes, you don't have to take out your computer, you get to just walk through a normal metal detector as compared to that evasive one that has to scan your entire body. It only takes like 5 or 10 minutes every single time I go through airport security. It's more like going through security when you go to a theme park or a sporting event. The TSA PreCheck line is just way better. Now, there is another way to possibly get yourself faster through security line, and this ends up being with Clear. I've had Clear for a couple of years now, and when I first got it, I thought that I probably would have paid some amount of money for it, but in the last year, I felt that the benefit has decreased a lot. Now, you can get yourself a free Clear membership if you happen to have the American Express Platinum card or the American Express Green card. And I do recommend that if you happen to have either one of these cards, to sign up because there may end up being situations to where Clear may end up being valuable to you. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Clear, how it works is that after you go through the Clear line, what they do is they jump you to the front of the line. If you happen to have TSA PreCheck, they'll put you at the front of the TSA PreCheck line. And if you don't happen to have TSA PreCheck, then they'll put you at the front of the general assembly line. Before I signed up for Clear, I remember wondering to myself, how much faster can this be when TSA PreCheck is already really fast and smooth? But then there ended up being one instance where I was leaving Vegas and there was a long line when it came to TSA PreCheck that probably would have taken somewhere along the lines of like 30 minutes, but there was no one in the Clear line. I walked over to Clear, they put me to the front of the TSA PreCheck line, and I got to get right through security in like 2 minutes. But that was a couple of years ago. In the last year, every single time I go over to the Clear line, I could tell that if I went just to the normal TSA PreCheck line, I would have gotten through it faster. And there's a few reasons why. First, I think that way more people have gotten themselves Clear because they added it to the green card. So now there ends up just being so many people who signed up for Clear. So now there is a line for Clear, as previously there was never a line for Clear. Also, there ends up not always being very many agents at the clear section. So when you end up going over to the clear section, there may end up only being like one person who's helping someone else, and then eventually they'll get over to you. Then the time that it took for them to get over to you, you would have already been at the front of the line of the TSA PreCheck anyways. And also, they keep on having these random ID checks to make sure that their entire system is working properly. And when they end up doing this, it just adds way more time to the entire process. But it seems like every single time I go there, it's either happening to me or someone who is in front of me, which just adds additional time to the entire process. I just used Clear when I flew up to New Orleans. And when I got to LAX and went over to the Clear station, there was a line, and I remember there was a woman who was waiting in front of me. The person in front of her got a random ID check. The woman decided to exit the Clear line. She went over to the normal TSA PreCheck line, and then after I went through Clear, I got through and she was right behind me. And I remember I said, "Ooh, I beat you by just a second." She laughed and said, "I gotta tell you, I don't think that getting Clear is even worth it anymore." And the reality is, if she didn't go over to the Clear line and she just went immediately over to the TSA PreCheck line, then she would have been through security faster than me. So are there times where Clear will end up coming in handy? I believe so. But I don't think that Clear is worth anywhere near the $200 that's the listed price for the service. And honestly, what I've gotten when it comes to how much value for it in the last year, I wouldn't even pay $20 for what it currently is right now. Now, once you get through airport security, you're gonna wanna go over to one of the airport lounges. And the ones that are gonna have the least amount of wait are gonna be the ones that are offered to the people who have premium seat tickets. And this is gonna be for people who are traveling in business or first class, or if they happen to have a certain level status with the different airlines. And when I say first class, I mean international first class. Because if you have a first class ticket from Boston over to New York, chances are you're not gonna be able to get into any of these lounges. The reason why these lounges are gonna have the shortest lines is because of the requirements to be able to enter them. Now, sometimes randomly you'll end up seeing that there is a business class lounge when you're international that ends up being also part of Priority Pass, but typically there are many requirements for who is allowed in the lounge versus who isn't. I've yet to have to wait to get into any business or first class lounge. Every single time I get over to the lounge, I'm either the only person in line or there's one person in front of me, and then they tell me to enjoy my time inside the lounge. After those lounges, I've noticed that airport-specific lounges end up being the second shortest wait behind first and business class lounges. And these lounges are going to be the ones such as like the United Club Lounge, the Delta Sky Club Lounge, or the Admiral Club's Lounge. Now I know there's going to be some people out there who are probably saying to themselves, this isn't true. I've had to wait an enormous amount of time where all these lounges have been absolutely packed. Well, if you compare them to the other two different types of lounges on this list, I think that these end up being the least packed as compared to those. But for those who are thinking that, you are right, because sometimes you may need to wait 20 or 30 minutes to get into one of these lounges. But the fact that you either have to be flying with that specific airline or within its alliance to be able to get into that lounge ends up adding a little bit of a barrier to make sure that it doesn't get as filled up as the other lounges on this list. Because coming in behind the airline-specific lounge is going to be the luxury bank lounges. This is going to be lounges like the American Express Centurion Lounge, or it's going to be the Chase Sapphire Lounge, or the Capital One Venture Lounge. So as much as people may want to complain about how much the Delta Sky lounges have become packed, it is nowhere near as much as how much people are complaining about the American Express Centurion lounges. And the funny thing about the Centurion lounges is, I don't think they're even bad when you compare them to the Chase Sapphire lounges, because there are very few Chase Sapphire lounges, but there is a lot of people who have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card. On top of that, if you happen to have Priority Pass, they grant you one access pass each year, which makes the lounges even more packed. The least packed of these lounges is probably the Capital One Lounge, due to the fact that not as many people have Venture cards, but there's so few of these lounges out there that you have to hope that you're flying out of, say, DFW to even be able to access one of these lounges. And the last on the list is going to be a Priority Pass lounge. Now, Priority Pass lounges aren't bad, but I've noticed that if I am traveling within the US and there happens to be a Priority Pass lounge at the airport that I'm traveling through, then I have like a 70 to 80% chance that I'm gonna have to wait before I can even be able to access this lounge. And when I say that I'm gonna need to have to wait, I'm not talking about having to wait 5 or 10 minutes. They tell me that it's gonna end up being 45 minutes to over an hour every single time I go there. And when they tell me that it's gonna take this long, for me, it's not even worth waiting this amount of time. I'd rather just go over near my gate, go to a restaurant there, spend about $25 and just relax in that spot. As compared to waiting for 45 minutes to an hour to eventually get into the lounge and then have like 10 minutes to eat food and get myself a drink, and then I need to run over to my gate. That becomes a pain in the butt to me. I'd rather just pay the $25, wait near my gate and relax until it's time to board. Now after you're done with the lounge, it is time to board the plane. And if you happen to have status, or you're in the military, or you happen to be traveling with young children, you can be able to board the plane early. But if you're not part of any of those groups, you either need to have booked yourself a premium seat or get yourself an airline credit card that's connected with this specific airline to get yourself priority boarding. A card that I love to recommend to people who like to fly JetBlue ends up being the JetBlue business card because you can get yourself Group A boarding just for having this card, which I find to be very generous. Now, not every airline credit card is going to be this generous when it comes to priority boarding, but many of the airline credit cards do end up giving you some level of priority boarding. So if you are loyal to one specific airline, it can make a lot of sense to get their credit card just for the priority boarding. The JetBlue business card has a $99 annual fee. They also give you 5,000 points each year. So if you end up just valuing their points at being 1 cent per point, that means that it pretty much ends up costing you $49 each year to keep yourself the JetBlue business card. If you fly with JetBlue enough, even if you don't use any of the other perks that connect with the card, I'd pay $49 a year with any airline to get myself Group A boarding because I don't want to have my luggage get checked in because I end up being one of the last people on the airplane. I want to be able to put it in the overhead bin and just be able to relax in my seat before we end up taking off. And lastly is going to be when you are traveling internationally. And this is where global entry becomes clutch. And as I said at the top of this video, a lot of people do not realize that if you end up getting global entry, you also end up getting TSA PreCheck. So don't just sign up for only TSA PreCheck, get yourself global entry with TSA PreCheck. Because when you do end up needing to use global entry, it's going to end up being such a great benefit to have. I've seen quite a few times that when I get back to the US, there ends up being just an enormous line that probably ends up taking over 2 hours to get through security, but then global entry ends up taking, I'm talking about like 2 minutes to get through. You just walk over to the kiosk, it scans your face, the person tells you you're good, and then you leave. It's that easy. As soon as you do it one time and you look over to the general assembly line and you see how long that is, you end up feeling bad for them and you go, I'm never going back to having to go through that again. And honestly, even if you only happen to travel like one time internationally every few years, it still ends up being worth it to have global entry because it saves you so much time. I'm someone who, when I re-enter the country, the last thing I want to do is wait for 2 hours to get through security before being able to catch a taxi to get myself back over to my apartment. I just want to immediately get through, hurry up and get home, and lie down in my bed. But these are my tips to help you reduce time when it comes to waiting in line at the airport. Hopefully you enjoy this video, and let me know in the comment section down below what type of tricks or what do you do to help yourself save time at the airport. And if there's anything I missed, also let me know that in the comment section down below because I would love to know that information. Now, if you happen to have any questions, drop that down in the comment section down below and I'll do the best I can to answer it. And if you happen to really like this video, do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace.